Welcome to our video webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about cultivated cordyceps. So cordyceps is one of the most prized items in Chinese medicine, but it's become almost unusable in the modern day due to the extreme price of the raw material. Cordyceps is a fungus that parasitizes a caterpillar in the high mountains of Tibet, into Nepal, into Yunnan, into Qinghai, and Sichuan. But the natural population of cordyceps has been in dramatic decline, and the global demand for cordyceps has been rising steadily with increased media attention, increased awareness of Chinese medicine as a whole, and increased awareness of the immune system functions of the immune system benefits of cordyceps. So there's been a huge rise in its popularity, which has caused a huge rise in its price. And right now, as of just a couple weeks ago, the cost of the wholesale raw material in China was about 60,000 renminbi per kilogram for just the lowest grade, smallest wild product, and then going up to 80,000 per kilo for the next higher grade, going up to well over 100,000 renminbi per kilo, which is about, you're getting into anywhere from starting at about 10,000 US dollars per kilo, going up to 15, even 20,000 US dollars per kilo. So for an item where the traditional dose is going to be about 3 grams or more per day, you'd be looking at about, even at the wholesale price in China, about $30 per day. So it's something that's almost unusable by the fact that it's prohibitively expensive at the moment. And it's unlikely to go down in price. In fact, cordyceps has just continued to rise exponentially. Just a couple years ago, relatively high-grade cordyceps could be had for about $5,000 a kilo. And now even the lowest grade stuff is over twice that price. And so it's become steadily more expensive and in steadily higher demand. But the natural resources of the wild material are unable to meet this rise in demand, and it's becoming harder and harder to find. And there's an increasing problem of ecological damage as the people are going into progressively more remote regions to hunt for cordyceps. And so ultimately, a lot of the future in the therapeutic use of cordyceps tends to be coming from the applications of cultivated cordyceps rather than wild cordyceps. One of the vendors of wild cordyceps that I was talking to in China recently, I said, is anybody still buying this stuff at $10,000 a kilo? He said, the people that buy it never eat it. The people that eat it never buy it. It's mostly something that's done as part of the cultural fascination with giving quality gifts to people that you're friends with, that you work with in China. And so a lot of wealthy Chinese people, as there's more and more disposable income in China, people are seeking out these highly prized, expensive items like cordyceps. Oftentimes someone will be doing a business deal that's worth millions of dollars. They'll think nothing of giving somebody a $1,000 box of cordyceps. But ultimately, most of the people that are actually eating the cordyceps received it as gifts. Most of the people that are buying the cordyceps as gifts find it too expensive to eat it themselves on their so the main thing that people are using these days is cultivated cordyceps. And there's 2 major strains of cultivated cordyceps in use. The first one is called CS4, CS4 Cordyceps sinensis. I think 4 is probably the number that was given to it in their original sequence, but I'm not sure about the exact origin of the name CS4, but it's the most common trade name for the most commonly cultivated cordyceps variety. And cultivated cordyceps as a whole tends to be very similar to natural cordyceps in terms of its constituents. Its growing environment is completely different. The Cordyceps sinensis, the CS4 powder, is grown by a process called fermentation, whereas the other major cordyceps product on the market, Cordyceps militaris, which I have here, is grown in glass jars, and it produces a fruiting body. The item that we have here is the fruiting body of cultivated Cordyceps militaris, and it's grown in a glass jar. The portion above the growing medium is the fruiting body, and it forms these long finger-like tendrils. And it's basically graded based on its morphology. Longer, thicker, larger, more attractive finger-like projections tend to fetch a higher price. But the most important aspect of its differentiation is based on its fragrance and taste. And so different producers produce Cordyceps militaris of different quality. And generally speaking, the region in southern China around Guangzhou is thought to be slightly superior to the region in Beijing. That may be changing as more and more producers are starting to cultivate it. The cultivated Cordyceps militaris is basically divided into multiple grades based on the morphology of the fruiting body, but larger grades based on whether you're talking about the portion that's above the growing medium or the portion that's below the growing medium. The portion that's below the growing medium is the mycelium, and it's instead of having long finger-like projections, it's a bulbous, irregular chunks, often a little bit accompanied by more broken pieces, much less attractive morphology, about half the price. And so of the Cordyceps varieties that form a fruiting body, it's pretty much all cultivated Cordyceps militaris. And the cultivated Cordyceps sinensis, it tends not to produce a fruiting body when it's cultivated on a commercial scale. So